trying. There it is. Bam.
This is Santino DeFranco, and you are watching the Break It Down Show.
Look at this. I got a book. It's called Fight Ready. And that man right there, let's see if I can point to him. Right, he's over there. You wrote this book. It's not. It's on pre-sales right now, but it's fantastic. I was, you know, this. We talked a little bit offline, but I competed in a tournament on Saturday, and it was my first.
Yeah, how'd you do?
In other things, I did terrible. Well, okay, look, I did great. I lost both times. I am about 6 foot 260, and too fat for sure, but also just I'm never going to weigh less than 200 pounds. Like, that's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a big dude. The other guy, the guy who won, was my height, and 325 is what he weighed in at.
Oh, geez.
And yeah.
What's the point of weight classes at that?
Yeah, exactly. And then the other guy was 6'8" and easily 3 bills. I'll grab the picture and post it on here. It's ridiculous. I'm not a small man, but on the podium and everything else, the guy in second place is taller than the guy in first place on the podium. It was crazy. So,
yeah, that's wild.
You get into, and look, we're all white belts, so whatever. But once I lost the initial battle to get down on the ground and everything, I wasn't prepared for it, and how can you be? So anyhow, it was fun.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu, well, any competition, the best thing that people can do for any competition, and you know this because you're in the military, is reps, is just doing it again and again and again and again. And the more time you do things, it's not like I don't know if anybody's ever less nervous. The more times they do things, they just handle it better. And so you just understand it. You understand how the competition goes. You understand the movements, the adrenaline, what you're going through. Like, it's funny. One of my sons, he's 13, and he has probably close to 100 wrestling matches by now. And he's only been wrestling 2 years. And he has his own warm-up routine. He knows how far out to get ready. He knows when to get ready, how to stretch, like what he needs to do. I'll ask him like, "Hey, are you good? Do you need?" He's like, "Nope. He knows his routine. And he's 13. He doesn't know anything about life, but he knows his routine to warm up for competition.
Yeah. And I was as prepared as I've been in the ring before. I've been knocked out. I've knocked people out, all that kind of stuff. That's way a long time ago. And I wasn't anything special, but I did those things. So I don't have that first fear of getting in there. I know how to deal with that. And I had prepared. Look, I had a strategy. You have to have something, so you pick something. And if I had gotten into my stream of things, I got a pretty decent chance. What I didn't prepare for was the weight of these dudes and where do you find 300-pound men? They're not around. And then also we were preparing for hands and to be relaxed and to flow and try to find a spot. And then my theory was I can get behind anybody and then flap them over on their back, because I'm pretty good at that. None of that came to pass. And so I was in trouble from the moment I got that collar grabbed, and I was, part of my plan was working. I could hear the guy on top of me breathing hard. He had worked really hard, but also I was under a mountain of man. And so, even like a great plan and preparation, it's still a contest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's always an adaptability concept that has to happen, that the more experienced you are, happens more naturally. But, in anything, it's just, you kind of freeze because you're like, whoa, I didn't plan for this. I don't really know what else to do right now. Because, it's just, like I said, it's just something, reps. And then all of a sudden you have plan B, C, D, and a myriad of things. But that's fun. I'm glad you got in there. It's been years since I've competed in jiu-jitsu. I did for a long time. And then, my focus was MMA for a long time as well. And I think I might have competed a couple jiu-jitsu tournaments afterwards. But I actually, I retired from MMA completely from coaching a few months ago, and I have not stepped on a mat since I stopped coaching.
Yeah. Now, what caused that? I mean, I get why you stopped fighting, for whatever reason. We all reach that spot where the passion or our body just can't handle it anymore. But to not coach, what caused that?
Well, MMA, it's all I've done for years. I've coached so many people at the highest level. I mean, we have Henry Cejudo wrote the foreword to that book. to my book, he won UFC gold in 2 divisions. One of only a few people to do that. We fought for a belt with Korean Zombie, with Volk, and I've traveled all over the world. I've done everything that I need to do on a personal level in terms of like what I need to fulfill myself. But then, MMA isn't going to retire me. And it's a passion. It's something I love, for a long time. But the reality of it is very few people get wealthy off of it. And, I'm traveling every week for, 3 weeks a month. I've got like I said, I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. I'm married. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to be able to come home, help them with their homework, bring them to sporting events. The amount of times I would be in the back of a UFC fight, getting ready for our guys to warm up, on my phone, watching my wife send videos of flag football or wrestling matches, and I'm watching them clip at a time. I mean, you can only do that so much to when your kids turn 18 and then they leave and never talk to you again, because I decided to give their whole childhood to fighters. And, at some point, and I actually said recently, somebody was asking me about it, and I was like, man, MMA is so much fun. I love this. And then as I said that, I was like, what a selfish thing to say. Like, what a selfish thing. MMA to me is easy. It's fun traveling all over the world and coaching people and doing all of that. And just what a selfish thing, because I can make more money for my family. I can be there around my family more. I can be a better father, better husband, by not being in MMA. And I'm like, man, I've got to switch. I've got to move. And I own a gas station. I've owned a gas station for a long time, a restaurant in it as well. And then, so I recently bought actually 2 other companies, and I'm like, I'm just going to run the companies and be with my family.
Yeah. Yeah. It's smart. I mean, you get one go at kids being kids, and 8 years old is a special time, and that's followed by 9, and all of a sudden they're 25. It does hit rockets by, and it's easy to love your job so much that you don't love your kids enough.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I was like, what am I doing here? And honestly, and it was stressful. MMA is stressful. It's something that I never phoned in. And so every single fight, whether it's an amateur fight or a UFC title, that is everybody's most important moment and fight of their life, because they're trying to fulfill a dream. And I'm not an MMA coach. I'm a dream fulfiller. And I'm there to help these people achieve dreams. And that's stressful. Like knowing, with the losses and the wins, are they going to, did we do everything correctly? And then people lose. And it just got to the point where that it was a lot. It definitely was a lot. And I enjoyed my whole life was in MMA. Like what I mean? I love it. It's given me everything that I have. But man, after the exit, looking back in the rear view mirror, I'm like, I don't want to turn around.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something. We had a Stitch Duran on the show, and Stitch Duran, for everybody who doesn't know, Stitch Duran is, if you think of a cut man in your head, he's the guy you picture. And so we were at his house talking to him. And when you hire Stitch, you hire him because he's going to take care of you. When you're in there and you're in fight mode and all you're worried about is, I have to be strong, not breaking you, all the things you have to focus on, he's the one that says, hey, kid, you're done. And they know if he says that. And so there's this responsibility, is what I'm trying to say. And that kid in that corner, whether he's a 40-year-old man or an 18-year-old kid in fight number 1, that's their business, right? And it's a hard business to survive in. And so whoever he puts around him, he has to trust him. And yeah, it's there's a lot more. Like, we just see the guy who falls or the guy who stands up and gets a belt put around him, but there's so much more in that. You've got to survive in an industry that thrives on young dudes and churns through them. Most of those guys won't even get a shot at a title. And it's the small things that make a difference. And you're a guy that helps people with small things. Hey, you need to sleep more. Hey, you need to train less. Hey, you need to twist your hand, whatever those things are. And that's a big commitment for everybody involved. And so there isn't room for like, hey, I should be home. There's no room for that in your business.
Yeah. And now it's funny because I feel somewhat obligated the same way in business as well. So with my businesses, like recently I, bought and sold another company over the last, 6-8 months. And then now I have the new companies, but I look at it as I need my businesses to succeed even more so than I need money for myself and my own family. Like, I'll figure it out, but I have a lot of employees, and they need me to succeed so that, I mean, they're depending on me and the success of my businesses for their own bills, for their own livelihood, for their own children. And that's another responsibility that I have to my employees, to do well and to do a good job, in addition to my family and myself and my own finances.
Yeah,
The thing though is, business is so much easier than fighting. Everything is so much easier than fighting. Fighting is brutal. Um, most businesses, I mean, look at how many people run businesses. There's millions of them, tens of millions of them.
really.
And look at
Yeah,
how many people can make it as a fighter. And don't get me wrong, like, business is not easy. It's a lot as well. But man,
sure.
there is nothing more difficult than fighting and coaching and MMA and in the entirety of that sport.
Yeah. I mean, at the apex of that sport, Joe Frazier is mentally fighting the fight before he fights Ali. And in some of the scenarios, he winds up at a loss and still gets into the ring, And so he's
Mhm.
just going through this scenario. And that's the guy who's like, again, that's his business. And so he's prepping himself. And even he isn't 100% sure because it's that hard. Now you go down to the bottom tiers where you're some kid fighting in a strip mall in Vegas, some like a shop where you start, and there's a lot that can go on in between here and there. And so it's not just the fitness that we're talking about. You're life coaching these guys, and all young athletes are going to have their talent will hit a wall that they can probably get through, and you've got to help them decide, do they need to?
Yeah, there's kind of two tiers. One is just blissful naivety. You know what I mean? Like, when you're young, you don't even realize that you can lose. You don't realize that there's
Yeah,
anything to lose. You're running through walls. And so you don't realize that you're even human or mortal. And then at some
yeah,
point, most of us realize that we are human and we are mortal and that we can lose. But then
mhm,
too many people, once they get to that, they start to become afraid to lose. And then that is their undoing. You need to be okay with losing and you have to be okay with the worst possible outcome. I mean, you were in the military, like, you understand, you
yeah,
went to war. Like, you
yeah,
understood the fact that you could die. You could be shot at, you could die. Okay, you still have a mission to accomplish. And if you die during that
yeah,
mission, you die, but you have a mission. And that's what MMA is the same, or any success is. You might encounter failure. All right, cool. We still have a goal and a mission, and we have to go do that. And whatever happens, happens. But when you're young, you don't realize you're mortal. When you're older, you have to be okay with mortality. But
yeah.
you still have a goal anyway, and you can't let a little fear, a little death, a little failure get in your way, because goals don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, combat is always a good proxy for elite sports, especially contact sports. And when I'm on the field, well, first off, I'm not doing my job if it's not dangerous. I was a spy, so I had to leave the camp. I had to go talk to locals. I got to go meet warlords and make them my best friends. So not only is it dangerous to me physically and my friends, it's also dangerous morally, my spirit. All these things are taking hits, but you have to push through that. Like when people
Yeah,
who meet me are like, weren't you scared? Man, you don't get to be scared. Like,
yeah,
I need the enemy to know, oh, that's Pete and we want to kill him. Whenever the intelligence shop would come tell me, hey, they know who you are, they want to kill you. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Now we're
No,
playing the game.
yeah. I mean, it's people confuse. I mean, again, anything with a goal. And, oh,
Mhm.
you're afraid, doesn't matter. There's a goal. Oh, it's hard, doesn't matter. There's a goal. You're tired. There's a goal. Today you're motivated. The worst thing I can ever think of with anyone is, oh man, I feel great today. Because
Right.
that makes me mad, because the inverse of that is, I don't feel well today. Oh, so you feel
Mhm.
great today, so you're going to have a really good practice. But what if you didn't feel great? How about, oh, you feel great? Who cares? Just practice. You don't feel good?
Yeah.
Just practice. Oh, you're sick? Doesn't matter. Show up.
Yeah.
Feelings don't matter. And people allow emotions. I mean, think about, like, emotions like this. These are things that 3-year-old children do. They throw tantrums, right? I don't want to eat my beans. Like, I mean, that's what we're doing when we are, as adults, when we decide, I don't want to wake up. We wake up, set the alarm, it's 5:30. We're going to go work out, and we hit snooze. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. That's the same thing that a 3-year-old does when it doesn't want to eat his beans and it throws them on the ground because it's sad. You know, it really is. It's grow up, wake up, be an adult, and eat your beans, whether you want them or not.
So this book really is okay. Yes, it's a way to prep for fighting, and yes, it talks about oil of oregano and all these kind of things. But this is really just a book about how to run a life. I mean, that's kind of what I gathered from it. Anyhow, as I went through it, is you know you can apply these lessons to what you aren't and should be doing in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I look at the book. The book started as a weight loss book because I wanted to show everyone what MMA fighters actually go through to make weight. Because you see them on the scale, you see them in, you know, Kamaru Usman, you know, 171 pounds, 170 pounds weigh in. On the night of the fight, you see him in the cage. He's 190 pounds. He's ripped. He's the most, he's the apex of like physicality. Well, just 24 hours ago, he was on death's door in dehydration, dying. 4 months ago, he was 220 pounds and fat. And people just don't realize like what actually goes into making weight and dieting. So I wanted to show people that and then kind of teach them how they could do that if they wanted to, for, you know, in a healthy way. If you have a competition, you've got a wedding, you've got whatever. That's how it started. And then from there, it kind of went into the strength and conditioning aspect in the nutrition. And then it just kind of kept evolving. And I look at it now as, and the way that I describe it, people are like, what is your book about? It's about MMA. And I'm like, absolutely not. This is a full on sports performance Bible. And honestly, you can even, like you suggested, look, this is a sports performance Bible, but a lot of these, you know, a lot of the things, the topics that we discuss, you know, in that book are life, you know, topics. That's life performance. That's human performance, not just sports.
Yeah. You know, I'm not the oldest guy on the road, but I'm 56. I've been pretty hard on my body. You know, I've been an athlete. I've been a warrior. And so like when the first guy, the guy who won my bracket, he did what I was going to do. He attacked my arm, got it here. And I was like, hey, listen, I can't play that game. And I tapped, I would say right in time, maybe even a second or two late. Any hard ass, you know, competitive like that, you were just laying there. You could have fought for something. Like, no. The shoulder only goes through. My hips only open up so much. And so I show up compromised, right? And so when I got into jiu-jitsu, I said to these guys, I'm like, I have a reconstructed ankle. I don't know that I can do this. I mean, my heart says I can, but I don't know if my body will. And I've got to learn this language. And sometimes I'm going to back off too soon. Sometimes I'm not going to go hard enough. And I don't know what that is. And no one else really can know, you know. And those guys all believed in me. And they're like, go on the journey and everything. And they're doing their job. But whatever I have left in my body, you know, a book like this is going to help me get better at understanding what it is, putting better fuel in. Metabolic syndrome is a thing for guys my age. I've got to figure out how to pile on aerobic exercise. I've got to get weight off the ground in some way, some fashion. Not off my body, but like lift, push, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But within the bounds, the confines of my body and the condition that it's in.
Yeah. And that's a good thing about lifting weights, that, you know, it's one of the reasons why I started this book, kind of the journey on, not even the book, but the knowledge that I learned in the book, because I'm not a strength and conditioning guy. I don't want to be. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't want to be. I was forced to become both of those because in mixed martial arts and in the MMA world, there are too many charlatans out there. And so many people are trying to just reinvent the wheel and mimic these sports specific activities and like add, oh, you've got this diet and that diet. And it really is all nonsense. And I have a good friend of mine who's a PhD and I interview him in the book. His name is Brett Contreras. And I would, all of this dumb stuff is going on just year after year after year. And I'm seeing it with, and a lot of these nutritionists. First of all, a nutritionist isn't even a thing. There's a registered dietitian, which is an actual certified dietitian who went to school and is certified through the state. A nutritionist is anyone that calls themselves you're a nutritionist. I'm a nutritionist. Our dogs are nutritionists. Like everyone's a nutritionist, but you get these nutritionists in our sport coming in and these strength and conditioning coaches. And a lot of the fighters don't know the difference of what's good and what's bad, because for most fighters, I would say 75 to 80%, if you just have them lift weights and run in any version, it could be good lifting, bad lifting, cardio,
Yeah.
doing battle, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Their bodies are going to adapt and they're fine. Like they'll get stronger, they'll get better conditioned. They're fine because they are what they are. You get some high-end Ferraris. Those don't act the same. You get some guys who can blast double a truck off the road. Yeah, but then they can't move for 6 minutes. Now how do you deal with that? And I'm dealing with Ferraris over here, and I've got Honda mechanics, trying to rev their engine.
Yeah.
And so I had to go on a journey and learn a lot of this stuff because I didn't know what the right answer was, but I knew that they were giving the wrong answer, a lot of these people. And I don't know anything about carpentry, okay? I don't know anything. But I bet you if you gave me a guy who was pretending to be a good carpenter and then a really, really, really good carpenter right across from him, I could probably look in about 4 seconds and tell which one is which. And I don't know what the guy who isn't elite does or doesn't know, but I know what the other guy does. And I want to follow the people that know what they're doing, not the people who are guessing. And so many of these people in sports try to overdo things. And going back to what you're talking about, being healthy, as you're getting older, trying to jump into sports, lifting weights is lifting weights. The best thing that you can do now, but the best thing you could do, I mean, barring major injuries. So like, of course, if you have a, cracked vertebrae and a disc issue, of course, we're not doing squats and deadlifts, but let's bar all major issues. The best thing that you can do physically for yourself or for a sport is more attuned to what the guys were doing in 1994 in Gold's Gym than half the strength and conditioning coaches are doing now. It's like, hey, go back to the 90s and think of like the guys in the gym doing a set of bench press. They rack it. They sit for 2 to 3 minutes, and then they do another set of bench press and they rack it. Then they up. Now let's go to squats. Now let's go to deadlifts. Now let's go to pull-ups.
Yeah.
And that's what you need because your body is going to do all of the adaptation for you. Our bodies are so much smarter than we consciously will ever be able to. Like, look, we eat some food, go eat some oatmeal. Like, we don't know what happens to that oatmeal. It goes in our stomachs, and even scientists are like, how does the stomach decide that the potassium is going here? And like, we have no idea, but we can pontificate all we want. All we have to do is eat the oatmeal. That's like, all we have to do is lift the weights and then go play our sport, lift the weights and then not be in pain, go do some cardio and then do your sport. And really it's all simple. It's not necessarily easy, but it's so much more simple. Diet is simple. Exercise is simple. It really comes down to do the 80% of the right things. And then you could do as much of the other 20% stupid things as you want. And they couldn't disrupt you that much. Because it's just not enough. It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, man, there's a lot in that too. Because we, like in this, you have a podcast. I have a podcast. You get in the world and you can get caught up in trying to tune your podcast, hyper tune. Meanwhile, there's a big knob over here that you should be turning that you can't focus on because so you end up becoming a consumer instead of a creator. And it's like, I need this technology stack and I've got it. And you're in that marketplace and you're just always fiddle fucking with all this other stuff. And it's like, did you show up? Did you do your workout? Good enough, right? Like, get in, get out. I'm not saying don't fine tune, but I'm not a Ferrari. And when I show up to you, I'm like, hey, I'm not even F-150. I'm an F-100. And you're not going to undent that tailgate and you're not going to find a new one. So we got to work with this thing that we have here. And so you're right. Like I'm a big believer. Get the weight off the floor, get it off your chest, put it on your back, go up and down, and I don't mean a lot of weight. You give me 135 pounds, man, I can destroy my body in a good way with 135 pounds. Just doing full squats and chest, and I'll be busted up, and then go back and do the workout again. So I definitely identify with that. It's easy to get caught in the minutia, and most people don't need to be that deep into it, I would think.
Yeah. Well, we do want to fine tune, and so we do want to fine tune, and the minutia isn't always bad. Here's the issue, though, and I say this in my book. I use this analogy: is we're drowning in debt, right? We're at home and we're trying to figure out how am I going to pay the bills? We've all heard this. If you cut out Starbucks, you're going to save $280 a month and blah, blah, blah. Right. So we're going to cut out our $5, a month latte. I mean, a day latte. So if we drink 30 lattes at $5 each, $150 a month, right? So we're all going to be rich. It's like we're talking about cutting out the latte, but our mortgage is $8,500 a month. It's like all the latte cutting in the world isn't going to help us with that giant, massive mortgage. So all of the fine tuning, it makes me laugh. Like all of the sports fine tuning is comical. If you cannot bench your weight, if you cannot squat probably, 2 times your weight, if you can't bench 1 to 1.5 times your weight, what are we doing? And so many of these people are focusing on these small little movements instead of it's the 80-20 effect. Really, I call it a 90-10 in sports. I think doing 90% of the right stuff. If you're doing 90% of the right stuff, all right. If you're Tom Brady, all right, let's start focusing on these tiny little details that might add some extra performance to us. Absolutely. But if you're trying to lose weight and you're doing all of these diets, but then you're going every night and eating a thing of ice cream, like all the fine tuning in the world isn't going to take away that ice cream you eat every night. And that's where we get caught up in. People are doing too much of the minutia without the big things. Do 80, 90% of the right things, whether it's in your sport, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's cardio, whether it's nutrition, whether it's work, whether it's life, whether it's anything. And you can screw up a good 10%, and it's not going to have a big effect on you, if any.
Yeah. So I'm so glad we're talking about this. And in your book, I saw you talk about this next bit that I want to bring up, but I have this ridiculous character that I play for my friends, in our little inappropriate text thread. And he's a coach, and I put my hat on backwards. I talk to him like that and everything. And I make up stuff. I'm like, I'll say a study out of the University of Southern Missouri. Maybe there was one of those, maybe not. But all of a sudden, that it feels right. It's like, oh yeah, what did they say? And I'm making all of this up. And I always talk about how you have to train, and no knock on Jocko, but if you get it before, I'll get it at 425, or whatever. And I don't just train harder, or I train harder, because if you just outwork your problems, you can always overcome them. And that's all bullshit. I mean, yes, you have to work hard enough to do these things, but also, hey, you got to be really great at sleep, especially as you get older. It's harder for people to sleep. And if you don't sleep, man, I don't know, other than oxygen and then water, I don't know what's ahead of sleep in terms of if you want to improve how you feel and how you perform every day.
Yeah, sleep it's one of the first chapters in my book. It's a super drug. Sleep does everything mentally, emotionally, physically. Our hormones are regulated at night. Testosterone is produced at night. Balancing our cortisol levels. Our immune system, that is our cortisol level, rising in the night. And that's when our immune system kind of really expands, heal a lot of healing properties. And then of course, it dips in the morning. If you're not resting, if you're not sleeping, then you're not living. Like all of these 4 hours a day type of thing. It's like, if you can function on 4 hours a day, legitimately function, man, good for you. You got a gene that the rest of us didn't get. I mean, that's I can't dunk. You got the dunk gene on me. Cause I need sleep. I can't dunk. Those are two genetic things that are true to me. And people I think people are getting better at that. They're getting better at the sleep and optimizing health. What they're not getting better at is what you talked about with Jocko and Goggins, that type. A lot of the youth as well. A lot of the youth is motivational stuff is going and going and going. Is you have these guys that are harder. Like you said, keep going, more. And in sports, in our sport, we see this all the time where these guys, they show up to the gym and they just want to go. They want to go for 2 hours straight because they want to be dead on the mat, soaked in sweat, because it's a high for them. That feeling, that drive, that push is a high. And anything less than that, they feel like they didn't do anything, and they feel like they didn't get their work. And I tell, in whether we're on the mats wrestling as hard as we can for 2 hours trying to push it, or in life grinding and grinding and grinding and never sleeping and always hustling. Do you want to be I always equate it to this is, I mean, that's what a workhorse does. Workhorses are great. Do you want to be a workhorse, or do you want to be a racehorse? Because those two, they're not the same. And if you want to go be a workhorse and just tire yourself out and just be tired all the time and just go, then strap the plow on your back and get to hoofing. But man, I want to be a racehorse. I want to win the races. And if you're a racehorse, all right, if you're a sprinter, if you sprint and you're doing a sprint workout and all of a sudden you're tired, well, now you're not sprinting anymore. You're conditioning. Those two things are not the same. And you're not going to get better at sprinting if you're grinding and pushing and tired. You can't. Those two things are antithetical, because look, if you want to get good at cardio and long distance, all right, we start grinding and pushing and going. You want to get good at sprinting, you better relax. You better sleep. You better rest. You can't sprint 2 days in a row. Your body is going to collapse. If you're going to go all out sprinting, you better sprint, do some bounding the next day, some lifting the following day, some, maybe some medium range stuff, some tempo runs. And then, all right, 5-6 days later, you can sprint again. Same with a racehorse. And so in life, do you want to be a racehorse, or do you want to be a workhorse? And the other part of that too is if you're grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding, generally that means that's output, right? Like, so it's always output, output, output. At what point is your input? What information are you taking in to get you smarter, to get you better, to learn knowledge, to become a better person? You can't input at a crazy output pace. You want to read a book, well, that's slowing down pretty far in learning. You want to learn math, you want to learn anything, you better slow it down. If you want to be smarter, if you want to be more efficient, if you want to be more intelligent, you want to be a racehorse, you got to slow it down. If you want to go be a workhorse, go be a workhorse. There's nothing wrong with being a workhorse. But let's not say that we want to be a racehorse. Let's not say that we want to be the Steve Jobs. Let's not say that we want to be the Mark Zuckerbergs when we're out there just spinning our wheels, hitting a wrench 20 hours a day. They're not the same.
Yeah, man, that's so good. All of that, what kind of car do you want to be? And do you have the courage to do, in Formula One, a lot of times the alternate strategy is the right one, because the bulk of the field gets on one strategy and you're on the right one because on that day it is the right one. And so you have to find other ways to do it. I was always impressed with, what's his name? Shoney Carter, right? This is not a great fighter, right? But you could not submit that guy. He was so good at countering every counter that he was always there. And so you had to beat him in another way. And you may not think, you may think, oh, that guy was terrible, but look how many fights he has. And he won most of them. And he did it not necessarily by overwhelming the guy, but just being impossible to beat, and there's something to be said for, he took a different approach to how he did it. And you would never pick him first in the fight world, but on any given night, he's on the mat, back when he fought, and he was competing, and he was dangerous because he got really good at being unbeatable.
Yeah, Shoney's a funny one, man. That guy, gosh, what was his nickname? He used to come out in the pimp suits and the hats, and he was wild. He was difficult to finish and put away, but he was one of the fun ones. So. When we see that today too, like, I think most of the top 10 fighters are racehorses. They're all capable of being workhorses. They're all tough. They're all well conditioned, but the really, really top ones are the precision guys as well. So being tough will get you through the regional scene. Being tough it'll get you into the UFC. You're just tough enough. Cardio enough, strength, whatever enough. You're grinding. Generally, with enough work in just minutes, you're gonna beat up the regional guys. Even the good regional guys, if they don't have that toughness, you'll push through them. Those are guys that won't make it to the next level. And then you get to the UFC, and you're gonna push through a lot of it. We had a guy, Jonathan Pierce. He was on, I think, a 5-fight win streak, maybe 6-fight win streak at one point, and he was tough. and he was just tough and wouldn't die and wouldn't die. And he would just outlast these people and go. Then he started having some family issues and stuff, and he wasn't coming to the gym and he wasn't training. He wasn't getting better. And then he would show up to camp and just try to tough it out. And it caught up to him. And he ended up losing, I think, 3 fights in a row. And then the UFC cut him. Tough will get you to the dance, and it will get you quite a bit of dance partners. But man, if you want to be homecoming king or queen, you better be, you better be something a little bit special. So, there's something to say about it, because the other thing, the flip side of that too, is you see some of these guys that are so technical, but they don't have the toughness, and they generally don't make it either. So if you had toughness or technique and just that precision, generally the 9 times out of 10, the tougher guys are going to get further. But then when you want to get to that upper echelon, you need the toughness and the technique.
Yeah. It's another thing I think about too. We had Tony the Tiger Lopez on, 2-time Fight of the Year guy, a couple times world champion in boxing, and just, the classic Mexican fighter. And he was saying, like, when you're number one, really nobody around you can beat you. They got to have some things break in their favor. Like the 2, 3, 4th ranked guys, the 10th guy, no chance, like no chance. There's such a difference. It's so stratified. But they just said, but to stay on top, it's so short for you to stay up there, because it's so easy to not train, to have girlfriend, to have money drive you crazy, and you go do stupid stuff, you get yourself in whatever, all kinds of trouble. That one is just an impossible position to maintain for very long. Some guys do it, but most guys are there for a fight or 2 maybe, and that's it. And then they can't sustain it, and then the pack catches them and then devours them. And so there is a really stratified thing, but the hardest position is that top position. And gosh, just to maintain that, to stay, or to reclimb multiple times, that's also just so rare that someone can do that. But it occurs to me that all of those guys, top 10 to 1, and the whole, the movement in the list, they're all great. They're all like wonderful fighters. We get wrapped up in the apex, but these guys, these 10 guys they're all incredible. They've done it. And I don't know that we translate that well to our day-to-day lives. Like if you're the 3rd best sales guy, maybe you don't get the, the free thing at the end of the year, the spiff or whatever, but goddamn, you're a good salesman. And so we tend to measure off the very top of the thing when it's not even really sustainable for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's funny that I was just having a conversation recently about that, staying at the top. And I think part of that is like, what is everyone's dream, right? As a little kid, it's like, whether you're a little kid or you're just starting in MMA or you're starting in sports, it's like you want to be world champion, right? Like that's the dream, is you want to be world champion. And so many of these guys get to they win the title. Well, they achieve their dream. That's all they ever wanted to do. And so they don't have like the chip on their back and that drive from every moment that they started up until winning that world championship was behind them, pushing them. And now all of a sudden they wake up with the belt and they have their championship, they have their dream, they have their goal. There's nobody pushing them anymore. There's nothing there. They've done it. And so you look at guys like in the UFC, Jose Aldo, Demetrius Johnson, John Jones. You look at Floyd Mayweather, 50-0. He's never lost. Like people want to hate on Floyd. Man, how many times do you think Floyd woke up fight day and didn't feel well? Wasn't feeling it, had a bad weight cut, ate something bad. His wife is yelling at him. His kids are sick, whatever. He didn't care. He just did it. He kept that chip on his shoulder. And guys lose that. They just don't keep it. And that's something really hard. And then the other thing that you just said was the difference between 1 and 3 and 1 and 10. The number 10th ranked guy in the world, number 5th ranked guy, number 3rd ranked guy. They're all good. I have this weird inverse, my chart. It's my inverse chart. And it's the more the more likely that I am to go out and have a beer with you, just enjoy somebody's company, the less likely they are to be a world champion.
Sure.
And
yes,
because world champions are psychopaths. They're
yes,
not fun to
yes,
be around. Like, they're not enjoyable. Like, I have been around John Jones and Henry Cejudo and the Weili Zhengs, and like, they're not fun to be around because they're so, like, they're in another world. They don't operate in the same
yes,
wavelength as us, and they're only thinking about how they're going to be the best. And when you're only thinking about how you're going to be the best, you don't think about anybody else around you. And everybody else around you is a byproduct. And the guys that are consummate number two, so there's the guy Dayton Fix. I don't know if you follow college wrestling. Dayton Fix, 4-time NCAA Division I wrestler, runner up, never won it, lost every
that's
single
a tough son
time.
of a bitch.
You know, and so you see those guys. You see the guys in UFC. Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy used to come out and train with me all the time. Great guy. Used to go have beers with him. Didn't win a world title. You know, it's
Right.
like, you know, my favorite people on the planet I want to go have beers with because they're nice and normal and social.
Yeah.
There's something different than those number one guys. And just the difference of number two to number one. Those number one
Yeah.
guys are psychopaths. They do not operate. And I don't even mean that on a, like, they're not going to go murder somebody, psychopaths. They're sociopaths. Like, these people, they don't operate, and they haven't used their craziness for harm in the world. I mean, they're not Dexter out here murdering people, like, but they're using their craziness as a driver for success, and everything else has to go. Look, I bet you Warren Buffett was a horrible father, because how can you be, and I don't know that for a fact, like, but if you're so good at something, if you're Michael Jordan, if you're so good at one thing, that means you're really bad at a lot of other things, like life, relationships, you know, being kind to people, like whatever it is. So, that number one guy, the number one, the best, the GOAT, man, those aren't normal people. They are not like us. So many of us want to be that, but we're not crazy enough. We're not willing to just let everything else around us burn. And every one of those GOATs, the number ones, they would scorch the earth around them to reach that number one status. And the rest of us wouldn't. We're like, hey, mom, dad, wife, son, kid, this, that, I love you, which is why they're good people.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you could think of, as you were saying that, I'm just slideshow of different athletes, you know, and yeah, I mean, so we had a guy early on the show, world famous, one of the greatest musicians of all time. His name is Sly Stone, Sly and the Family Stone. And he said to us, if my music isn't good enough, I don't deserve to eat. So, like, when you think you've slid all in, you got a guy like Sly Stone who's like, yeah, it's so much more. It's his existence to write great music and to do these things. And it broke him too. Like, you know, he was a drug addict when he was alive. He had all these problems. He was socially wasn't able to handle the fame that he had. There's a lot of folks like that who they're so compelled to do this thing. Yeah, you can't get near them. There's a Tasmanian devil. They just, like, Barry Bonds. You think Barry Bonds was pleasurable to be around? Like, oh my God, no way. You know, maybe he is now, but that development that you get as a human to deal with those things, if you're taking all of that energy and putting it into whatever it is that you do. Alexei Karelin, that guy can't be fun at a camp out. You know, he's probably trying to knock over a tree and carry it off to the lodge or something, you know? I mean, you don't get to be that great and be compromising on things like, and if you do, like, this is the time when I enjoy myself, I am enjoying myself, you know, and the beer thing.
Yep. Good. Greatness comes at a cost, you know, it really does. Yeah. But, you know, the other thing that was, like, going back to the book and going back to all of that is, look, like, most of us are never going to be great. We're never going to be the GOATs, but we can always be the best that we can be of ourselves. We can always be the best version of ourselves. And like, doing that 80%, doing the 90% of this stuff well, that is honestly, for most of us, it is the apex of where we're ever going to be. And, you know, it's being kind to people. It's in strengthening, in nutrition. It's eating most of your meals as a balanced meal. You know, if you want to lose weight, you go into a calorie deficit. The details don't matter. I mean, just divide it. I mean, it's a math equation.
Right.
do most
Yeah.
of the stuff right, and it will work out. If you want to get stronger, do your Olympic lifts and add some pull-ups to it. Do the stuff that is simple. If you want to be, if you want to be a better person, if you struggle with anxiety, I mean, we know anxiety is focusing on the things that we can't control. All right. So let those things go. Focus on what you can control. All right. And then whatever you cannot control, you have to
Yeah.
release that. It's like we're talking about with death and getting hurt or whatever
Mhm.
earlier. You can't control that. You can only focus on your controllables, and then life is pretty nice. In If you do most of the right, it doesn't mean we're never going to freak out. We're never going to worry. We're never going to this and that. But when you don't talk about people that aren't there, when you don't focus on things you can't control, when you do control the things that you can control and you don't procrastinate those things, that's the 80% of it. And that's
Yeah.
the best that we can be, is doing those things that we can control at 80, 90%. And look, man, if we ever get to the point where we're just 80 to 90% in life, and then you can start nitpicking, cool, great. Let's all start
Yeah.
nitpicking.
Right.
But even then, do you really want to? Like, I've been around some really high achievers. They're hard to be around. Like, one of the guys that actually owns our gym, Fight Ready, exited his business with a few $100 million sale, and then a couple other tens of millions of dollars sales, doing some stuff like that. And he's up at 5 every day. He is just on his kids. He's so regimented, it's crazy. But he's that same level of athlete that's one step above, like, where you really want to be and who you want to hang out with, because they're so type A on all the time, every little detail,
Right.
which is great for them, which is why he sold his business for $200 million plus.
Right.
Most of us, that's a little bit too much to be around, and
Yeah.
not because it's exhausting to be around. That's what it is. It's exhausting to be around. And if you are that person, great. But sometimes we don't all need to operate. The world we live in right now, you can be anything that you want to be. Live your dreams. If you're not, if you're doing something you love, you never work a day in your life. Grind, grind, grind. Everyone's rich. Go buy your Lamborghini. You can buy 6 houses too. Go hustle. It's like, stop. Like, how about you just live a good life and do what you can do, and enjoy being a human, enjoy the people around us. And look, like, I love success too. I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I do a lot. But not at the expense of chaos.
Yeah, man, that balance. One of the things I've come to realize is when you're trying to balance life, it isn't a teeter-totter. And by the way, standing on a Bosa ball and not put a ball on top of that, that's what balance is. And you're like, oh yeah, and that's not comfortable, And so some things you can take them off your teeter-totters. You're not balancing 10 axes all at one time. You can get simple, and you don't need as many things, because I don't want to have to balance a ball on top of a Bosa. You can do it. Goddamn, like, could I just stand on the floor, and like, oh yeah, look at this. I don't need all these other things. So all of that stuff in balance, the things that you pursue versus the thing you need. And sometimes the pursuit, like for me, am I pursuing jiu-jitsu practice? If I get a black belt, hey, great. I'm just trying to show up tomorrow. Like, I didn't go today because I didn't feel well. And I'm like, oh, am I getting sick? I don't want to get anybody else sick. I'm going to hold off today, but I'm going to try to go tomorrow. And I'm just going to keep on trying to do that. And for me, maybe I'm a little addicted to going because I enjoy it and I'm seeing progress, but I think it's a healthy addiction. But I also might go work out. I might go work out 10 times in a week because I'm finding progress in it, and I enjoy it. Could I trade off half of those workouts and get in the water and swim, or go on my rowing machine and row? Yeah, maybe. But for right now, that's where I'm at. I don't know that I'm in balance, but I'm doing better than I was before I was doing anything. How am I doing?
Yeah, it's funny. Brett Contreras, again, I mentioned him in the book. He would talk about, like, you can't do everything at once. And he said, like, if I am trying to get a PR on my bench press this month, I can't be PRing on legs and on calves and on pull-ups and on sprinting. And it's like, no, everything else has to go into maintenance mode. And then you focus on your bench PR, and then you hit that. And then, okay, now I can settle that. Now you can focus on something else. And then you can't, your circle is like this. You start pulling it, well, it's shrinking over here and shrinking over there, and they move quite a bit. You can't focus on multiple things at once. No matter how ADD we all are, you have to focus on one thing at a time. And then going to your other point about just the balance in life, and you touched on a point that so many people get. I think it's a phrase, putting the cart before the horse. And you see it so many times. People want to be a world champion, right? They want to be rich. They want to be, sell art or music for millions of dollars and have a sold out concert. That's backwards. You don't ever get to be that because you want to be rich. What happens is you have an idea or you have a hobby like you right now. You enjoy it. You're not thinking about your blue belt, your purple belt, your black belt. You're thinking about going in tomorrow and training. And then the next day and training, and the next day and training. And then little by little, you happen to get better. And now you're a blue belt, purple belt, black belt. And that's what happens in sports or in business. You don't get rich by saying you want to be rich. Okay, well, now what? What are you going to sell? What are you going to know? Yeah. Oh, you carve, I don't know, you're a woodworker. So you just like woodworking. And then eventually you just get so good at woodworking that people are like, hey, I will buy that. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then we get better and better and better at selling and doing and whatever, whether it's a sport. The amount of people I've had come in to the gym over the last 20 years and say, I'm going to be a world champion. I'm going to be an MMA fighter. I'm going to go to the UFC. Have you ever trained before? No. I'm like, no. So you don't even know if you like the sport. Like, no, I know I'll like it. I know I'm good. I know. And I'm like, you have never trained. Like, you don't know. You might roll one day jujitsu and go, this is horrible. I never want to do this again. Or you get punched in the face, or you have to start running. Like, you don't even know if you like it. How about you decide that you like something first, and then organically you love it. Then organically you become good at it. Then organically it's like, okay, this is something I might actually be able to pursue, whether it's a freaking lemonade stand or a business or a sports. But we all want to be great at stuff. Everybody has skipped the hobby stage. What's happening is, oh, you make your hobby your passion, make money off of it. It's like, how about you just do it as a hobby because you like it? And everybody is skipping that stage. They skip it in sports. They skip it youth sports. Everyone's like, no, we need to go to the NFL. How about you just make it fun for the kids so they enjoy it and they stick with it? And eventually fun becomes good becomes great, and then you go on. But we're getting a little backwards because of I think that hustle culture society where we're in right now, and people don't really realize. And the other thing, people don't realize how long it takes, like, to become a pro fighter in the UFC. You'll see a couple of these guys in at 22, 23. Most of these guys have been training 10, 12 years before they even get the first UFC fight. And that means 10, 12 years of grinding, 10, 12 years of injuries, 10, 12 years of not having full-time jobs and working odds and ends and sleeping on people's couches or your parents' house because you have nothing. It's literally, MMA is a sport of beach bums. These guys are just surfing, chasing the next wave, and they're just waiting tables or doing some stuff on the side just so they can sleep on somebody's couch and go hit the next wave. That's MMA. That's the UFC until you're that good. And so it's like, man, do you want to not have kids, not have relationships, not go to birthday parties, not see your parents, not see your friends? Like, it's a long commitment. So you better love what you do, because you are going to give everything else up in order to get there.
Yeah. When folks ask me about podcasting, it's like, picture me oiled up in the podcasting gym, practicing my poses. You're like, God damn, look at Pete. I want to be like that. You can't be like me. I started this over 10 years ago. I got 2,000 episodes. I know I like this. I like burned out. Shit, I burned out 10 times, 15 times, like I should quit. And then the next thing you know, I'm putting another episode up. And so you have to find the thing that you're willing to do over and over again, but you can also maintain it. And rather than think about perfection, I think about production. How do I put an episode together? And I just get the rep in until, like, all of a sudden, like, that's just a byproduct. Everything else that comes in My business isn't a pretty business. There's all kinds of problems with it. But my show creates opportunities. I didn't know that going in. I mean, I knew that something would come from it. I didn't know I could do it. Turns out I can do it. And now, like this, oh, I get to meet you. I get to meet the next person. Maybe there'll be some kind of business thing we do. Maybe not. Maybe I'll put you together with somebody else. And who knows? But it's all out in front of me now. And I don't have to worry about the rearview mirror anymore because that's all proven. And that's the thing that's hard to get to accept that like this is what this thing is. And we often talk about grinding. And I'll remind my friends, especially as we get older, there's only so many things we need to do once you get 56. I'm not saying that we're done, but you're running out of time when you're going to be highly productive. And you should be better at choosing by now. Like, why aren't you polishing? Why don't you take that grinder wheel off and put the puffy wheel on and make it shine, because where you are, that's where you are. And it's really great where you are. Just take that thing and just turn it into a beautiful object. And instead of chopping shit off, corners off all the time, slow down. I mean, I always talk about inspiring and in life, like my bonsai tree of life. I've cut off all the mistakes and now I just have a stick. And it's like that's my bonsai tree. It's like perfect. So there's no more mistakes in this thing. But yeah, that's sort of how I see a lot of this stuff is yes, catch the dream and then test it and chase it. And this is part of the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit is part of the fun. And then when you're done playing golf, you stop playing golf. And then maybe you go back to it. Maybe you go paint something, maybe whatever it is. It doesn't have to be your career either. You're right. Like just find the thing that you do that gives you satisfaction and joy.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's enjoy it, and then enjoy it before you obsess over it. And it'd be nice to see a little bit more enjoyment. And then when people do obsess, like you said, all these guys are chopping down trees and just leaving them in the forest. Now we just have a bunch of trees falling over in the forest. Why don't you grab the tree, turn it into something, make something? They're like, no, but I need to chop down another tree. And so really the book as a whole it ended up being a way for people to there's nothing in there, and if you read the book, I talk a lot of times about like, well, this study said this, but then this study said that, and this and that. I'm not trying to give anybody the formula, or I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do there. If somebody were to, what I'm trying to do is give them the information so they can figure it out for themselves. Because what I've seen over the years is so many people have the answer. Hey, this is the answer. You need to lift heavy and strong. The next person's like, no, you need to lift light for endurance. The next person's like, no, we need to be doing explosive stuff and sprint work. And they're all 100% right. Right. Yeah. And so none of us are the same. I can't dunk. I'm sorry to say it. I know when you're looking at me, you're like, that's a man that can dunk, but nope, sure as heck, I cannot dunk. You need to train me a heck of a lot different than somebody my height who can dunk. I'm flexible. When I was a kid, even up until I'm 43 now, even up to a year ago, I could put my feet behind my head. Like the guy who can dunk probably can't put his feet behind his head and probably isn't flexible like me. We're different humans. And so what I want to do in the book is I want to give people the knowledge to find things out for themselves. I talk about nutrition. All right. So nutrition in there, you want to lose weight. Well, that's literally a formula. How much weight do you want to lose? All right. What time do you want to lose it in? That's your calorie deficit. So there's about 3,500 calories in a pound. If you want to lose that in 30 days, okay, well, you 3,500 times 30. Then you divide that, and by how much you want to, the amount of time. And now all of a sudden it's, I don't know, we're dealing in 100, 200, 300, 400 calorie a day deficits. And that's the answer, but it's not the same for all of you, but I'm trying to give somebody the ability to figure out their formula. I'm giving the people the knowledge in that book to figure out what type of strength and conditioning program they need. And then to be able to figure it out, what type of mental mindset you need, what type of learner you are. Some people are visual learners. Some people are auditory. Some people are, modeling learners. That book there, it's a tool there's no answers in, not to say there's no answers. There's a lot of information in it. There's no one size fits all answer in that book that if you're asking, how do I lose weight? And I'm asking, how do I lose weight? The answer is not in there. The formula to answer it is in there for each of us. And that's what I'm trying to give people. I'm trying to give people the formula for them to answer their own question and to differentiate. There's a lot of bad information out there. How many videos fake videos have you seen, not realize they were even fake, on politics, on strength and conditioning, on this and that? And then you're like, wait, that wasn't even real. Like, we don't even know what's real information anymore. Even the real science, we don't know, because, oh, there's a study that said this. Well, there's a opposing study that said that. Well, there's an opposing study that said this. And you gotta be able to differentiate between studies, between information, and decide what information you're going to actually absorb, and then how you're going to use that information. And that was my goal. I wanted to give people the information to really equip them and arm them with the ability to succeed the best that they can for them.
Here's the book, everybody. It's called Fight Ready. You guys know what I always say: buy two and buddy read. Books make great gifts. Also, if you have a book club, read this book, talk about it, and I just bet that guy right there, I bet he would come talk to your book club. So the link is down below me. Go get this. And yeah, I love it, man. I love going through it. It's a book that I'm going to continue to go. This is me actually talking to look, Santino knows this. I'm talking to all you guys directly too. I'm going to keep going back through this book because I do want to add elements in, but I don't want to add in so many elements that I stop training. You know, like, just, can I get up and go do jujitsu or whatever? Can I go get in the pool? Yes. Well, then I'm already doing the bulk of it, the 80-20 thing we were talking about. And this book has a lot of ability to help you out. Also, you can learn about VO2 max, but if you go down to the beach and you run with your friend and you have a conversation while you guys run, and you're like, man, that was the best run ever. We were on the beach. You know what you just did? You worked out, you had a great time, and you want to go do it again. Don't make it so complicated that you don't do it. Just find something you do. Hey, a walk with your friend and a talk. Wow, well, how great is that? So some of this and all of these principles are really in here. You know, you don't have to do everything. Just do something that you guys enjoy. And that's what I'll say. I'll let you wrap us up, Santino. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Sorry, we tried to get on a couple different times, and our time zones were a little crossed over here.
I know,
but yeah, if you guys, you know, we're all capable of such great things. We just have to know, we just have to have a path, and whatever path people are trying to get on. The biggest thing is stop looking up. Just put one foot in front of the other and just keep walking. There's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to start. There's never a perfect time to have kids. There is no perfect moment. There is just now, and do it. Do not look for perfection. Start and then iterate. Start and then iterate. Start and just keep iterating. Failure is fine.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, quitting is not fine. Failure is fine. And just when you fail and fail and fail and fail, you end up stumbling upon success over those failures. So start whatever it is you want to do. Just keep going, one foot in front of the other. Do not look up. When you think you're halfway there and you want to look up, keep your freaking head down and just keep going and going and going and going. And then when you want to look up again, just put your head back down and just keep walking. Just one foot in front of the other, and don't be afraid to fail.
I will say one more thing, because I just lied to you and said you could have the last word, but I think it's important. Pete Koch is a buddy of mine. He trains. He's on Instagram. If you guys ever want to hire a trainer, he's a good guy. Go check out his stuff. But he's a mountain of a man. Played in the NFL. He was the Swede in Heartbreak Ridge. And whenever someone says, oh, when should I start working out? Maybe in like 3 weeks at the first of the month. And he's like, you should have started working out 27 years ago. And she's like, yeah, quit waiting. Just do it. Like, just start. Like,
just
do. The cost of not doing it is so high. Like, you can't get out of your chair because you're too weak, because you didn't just simply go walk or whatever it is. Anyhow, I just wanted to add
whatever it is you want to do, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's a business, whether it's a hobby, just start it right now. Just pick it up and go. Yeah. I love it. All right.
I'll say goodbye to you in a second. Everybody else, this is Break It Down show. You guys know what to do. Click like, click subscribe. Also go check out all those Santino's things. He's got a website, and it's oh shoot, I gotta put that in.
Oh, just a website hasn't been updated in years, but just you know, on Instagram, you know, I'm on Twitter, Tino DeFranco, and then Instagram, Santino DeFranco.
Yeah. Just if you want to get hold of him, you want to find out where to go, peterbreakitdownshow.com, or just go to the Instagram. You guys know how to look up Santino DeFranco, right? You guys know what to do. All right, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.